That was a pretty good note.
Thank you.
Honors
Me and Mariah Carey up there, topping the charts.
Yeah, girl. Mariah and you. That makes sense.
She's totally I don't know that girl. Remember she did that to J-Lo?
And you're saying she probably would also do that to you? Yeah. You know, I mean, you and J-Lo are really close, but
neck and neck.
She probably would do that to you too.
What's going on with you?
Well, first of all, I'm excited that we're now officially into season 2.
We are.
Can I just say that? Mm-hmm. We are back. And we have a couple important announcements for our followers.
Yes.
Like an updated schedule to maintain our sanity, which is that the first week of every month, we're going to be taking a little break from producing and publishing a new episode, but it doesn't mean we're not doing other things, people. We got a lot cooking in the kitchen.
Ooh, speaking of lots in the kitchen, we are rolling out our Patreon.
Speaking of the kitchen, I was like, where's she going with this?
Yeah.
Where we're going to be
lots
delivering
of new things.
hamburgers.
It's a new thing that's cooking for us.
That's right, girl. That's
Season
right.
2, new things, new Patreon. So we're basically going to have, tiers available for our Judgy's fans who want to hear more content, more laughs, more stories about us, because you can never have enough of us, really.
I mean, I don't have enough of us.
Yeah.
And we are us.
Our spouses feel otherwise, but that's fine. We can keep
They're definitely not signing up for Patreon.
No.
Get out of my face.
They've been advised by their tax advisors not to.
Right. Yeah, and their shrinks. But people, if you want more of us, go check out our Patreon page. We got, like Nicole said, a couple different tiers. We got a little bit of everything to suit all your needs.
Yeah.
So check it out.
Yeah. Let's get into this week's topic.
I am excited about this one.
Yes.
It's like our bread and butter. Mm-hmm. I get most excited when we're talking about things that happen in the entertainment world because it requires me to do less research.
Yeah, it's just natural for us,
because we just know
we just do this all the time.
Yeah, I feel like people don't realize
just
that
pros.
we're like don't know all aspects of the law. That takes some research on our part, which we did here. Of course, we did because it's my beloved Scarlett Johannson,
ScarJo.
I mean, look, I had a crush on her when I was very young, and I grew up with her, right? Because she's a little older than us, but essentially our age. I saw her in Horse Whisperer, and I was like, that's my girl.
Well, why don't we get into it before we get into your crush for her?
I'm just telling you, okay. I'm very excited about that, and I feel like I need to tell you now.
I'm really excited for you.
Keep that in mind as we go along.
Will do.
My crush did change. You'll find out why.
Okay.
But I just needed to tell you how excited I am.
All right, so ScarJo. So she was born in 1984 in New York City. Her dad is an architect from Denmark, and her mom's a producer. I think she does both TV and film, but I didn't find a ton about her mom.
Okay.
Fun fact, though, her paternal grandfather was a screenwriter and film director. So I think it probably makes sense, all things being said, with the mom and the grandfather, that she later kind of gets into entertainment.
Seems like a fun industry to be in, too. Be like, yeah, who doesn't want to work in movies and TV?
Yeah.
I mean obviously us.
Do. Yeah. So it's like, maybe
we're a little
trying
biased.
to give us a compliment, or?
Yeah, always. Another fun fact I'd love to insert here, that she has a twin brother. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either until we were researching this.
I think twins are so cool.
I
just feel
weird,
like it's
depending on who you ask, but...
Or weird?
Yeah.
You think twins are weird?
Sometimes, yeah.
Why? What do you mean?
I don't know. They're the opposite of like only children, but also kind of the same. They're almost so opposite that they're the same. You know what I mean? They just do weird things.
What kind of twins have you met? I just think it's cool because I was like, oh, if I had an identical twin.
Because you're a dork, that's why.
And
there's about to be some science.
No, I was going to say, if I didn't want to do something, I'd send my twin. I'd be like, look, you're the weak one. So you
like
got to do the stuff I don't want to do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, go on.
Well, so she ends up going to school at PS41, which is this like renowned elementary school in New York City. And I student taught there my junior year of college and tried to apply to teach there post-grad. Didn't really happen for me. So yeah, I'm a little bitter.
So public school, there's a renowned public school.
It's just a really good one for some reason. It's like super diverse. The teachers are all super, like educated, and they've had all these great experiences, and they do cool learning experiences for kids, blah, 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 blah. So
interesting.
I wanted to teach there. Didn't work out.
I'm sorry. Well, I do think the PS41 name is cool because it reminds me of the cartoons growing up, because I'm West Coast, right? So we don't have names like that.
PS, yeah.
So I thought like, oh, that's like Hey Arnold or Recess.
Oh, Hey Arnold.
Like cool, right?
Hey Arnold was
little
such a good
TBT
show.
right there.
Yeah.
So it sounds like she wanted to be an actress from an early age. She used to put on like song and dance routines for family, which is adorbs.
I mean, I did too. I'm not famous though.
How'd that go for you?
Yeah. Me and my cousins used to do it all the time. I feel like it's like a commonplace activity for,
Yeah, that's like a little kid thing to do.
Girls
like,
and boys
watch me
too.
dance.
Yeah.
I would do skits. I don't think that's very surprising. I didn't do.
Not surprising.
I never did like dance recitals. No one wants to watch me like
shocking at all.
Flop on the ground. She was really into musical theater, and she continued to take dance classes.
Allegedly, her parents were kind of supportive of like this entire acting, dancing, singing career.
Can I point out that you just said allegedly?
I just don't know them, so I can't confirm it.
I know, but that like you felt the need to say allegedly, and I feel like maybe that's coming from like your childhood because you didn't get the same support.
Oh my God. Okay, that got really sharp.
You're the one that talked about how your mom was like, sorry, you can't be a singer. So I'm just saying, like the allegedly.
Oh my God.
I wonder if there's something there.
So anyways, at 7, a talent agent ends up signing one of her brothers instead of her, which apparently Scarlett was devastated by, but went on to act anyways.
I didn't know 7-year-olds could be devastated about not getting a job.
Yeah. Well,
Can I just point that out?
yeah.
And also I got to say, it worked out better for her because I have no idea
For
who
sure.
her
Who
brother
are her
is.
brothers?
Right.
Where are you?
So hang in there, baby ScarJo.
Yeah.
She first appeared in an off-Broadway show as a child with Ethan Hawke. She only had 2 lines, but hey, you
Are
got
they
to
the
start
same
somewhere.
age? Are they close in age?
Ethan
He
Hawke's
has not
older.
aged well. Oh, okay.
He's got to be. He's also 16. No, he's got to be in his 50s now, right?
I'm just thinking, like, when you see the two, like, when I think of him and her now, she just looks much younger.
She's what, like 36?
I don't know.
She's 84. She's 4 years older than me. 37, yeah. 36, 37.
Good quick math.
Anyway, then she starts attending professional children's school for aspiring child actors in NYC. I presume that sounds really fancy. Everything in NYC just sounds fancy to me. She had her first film debut in the movie North in 1994 with John Ritter, where she plays his daughter.
R.I.P. John.
Aw,
He was a great actor.
He was. He seemed like such a nice guy.
Yeah, agreed.
She had her first leading role in 1996. She played the younger sister of a pregnant teen in Manny and Lo. Did not watch that one.
No.
Apparently her twin brother was also in that one, so maybe that was his claim to fame?
Yeah.
Don't know. And then she appears in a bunch of other child movies after that. Home Alone 3, did like that one. Horse Whisperer, the one I was talking about.
Your crush movie.
That was the one.
Okay.
I was like, this is the girl for me, 10-year-old me. My Brother the Big, and Ghost World, which was her breakthrough role, even though it was a box office failure, but it won a Toronto Film Award.
And so basically after she does all these kid roles, she applies to NYU's art school after graduation, but was rejected.
Do you think NYU regrets this?
I don't know. They chose me. So, I mean, they've got some strong alumni anyways.
I'm just saying, like, wouldn't you regret not taking somebody who's now like a multimillionaire because you're thinking all the donor money you could have had from them?
Do actors actually, are they big donors? I doubt it.
Depends. If it's the arts, maybe they would.
Maybe they do like some scholarship endorsement
She
or
seems like the
endowments
type
or
that's
something.
like, oh, I'm artsy and I'm creative. Like, she does all this Broadway stuff, right? So I thought maybe.
Maybe. Well, so anyways, she goes into some more adult roles starting in 2003. Her first one was Lost in Translation with Bill Murray, which is obviously huge, and she wins a BAFTA for that one. And then Girl with a Pearl Earring. So she gets Golden Globe nominations for both of these, but sadly didn't win either one. But my fun fact is, so Lost in Translation had a $4 million budget and grossed $119 million.
That's crazy.
Insane.
I have to say, I have not watched it.
It's what? It's an amazing movie.
It's my turn to be you. Yeah, I
We
haven't
literally
seen this.
planned parts of our Tokyo trip around that movie.
I had no idea that it was.
You didn't know it's in Tokyo. Okay.
I have no idea what it's about.
So anyways, these roles really established her presence in the industry, and people think that these kind of showed how versatile she is after all of like the youth roles that she had done, since she had always played kind of like childish characters, whereas in Lost in Translation, she's still young, but she's like very mature and kind of, she's not woke. I don't think that was like the right way to describe her, but she was kind of an intellectual, which is surprising given, you know, her
Like an
age and what
old
she had done
soul type?
before. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. She seems like that. She has 4 other movies around the same time: The Perfect Score, A Love Song for Bobby Long, A Good Woman, and the SpongeBob SquarePants movie,
So random.
which I did not
realize
realize
she was in that.
I also I didn't watch that. A little too old for that. But
hope not.
Apparently she did SpongeBob because she loved Ren and Stimpy. So I'm guessing a little nostalgia,
Mm-hmm.
right? To be part of a cartoon. It seems fun. I'm sure if you're like, hey, let me let loose.
I mean, at least you're just doing like voiceover, so it's probably like a nice, break
Right.
from like having to do all like the costumes
Yeah.
and the hair and the makeup and all that.
I think it'd be fun to change it up.
Yeah, for sure.
And then 2005 through 2009, she's working with Woody Allen on a
Oof.
few movies of Match Point, Scoop, and Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
I mean, it's interesting that she did these movies with him because she, in recent years, has called out James Franco pretty loudly for all the allegations about sexual misconduct against him.
Right.
But from what I saw, I literally could not find anything about her speaking out against Woody.
I looked it up, and actually she like affirmatively supports him, says that she believes him, she stands by him, feels bad that people have like essentially dropped him. So I don't know what's going on there, but I mean, maybe she didn't feel anything from him, but I did read that allegedly on the set of one of the movies, he referred to her as being overwhelmingly sexy or sexual, something like that, which I feel like is pretty creepy.
Especially, like, we're in a professional setting. I don't need you to talk about how I look, but thanks.
Maybe she wasn't there for that. I don't know. Who knows?
Gross.
Anyway, you're right. I think that is interesting.
I'm not into it.
We'll say that.
Thumbs down, ScarJo. And then so 2010 turns out to be a busy year for her. She has a Broadway debut in A View from the Bridge, which won a Tony Award, so obviously massive.
Good for her.
She also debuts as Black Widow in Iron Man 2. And so she goes on to reprise her role many times over in like the various Marvel movies from then until now, including the standalone Black Widow movie that came out this year. Mm-hmm. And so over time, she's been in a total of 9 Marvel movies, which means she's basically gotten a shit ton of money.
Right. I think
just millions.
She's good for life. Like if she just stopped now.
For sure.
She's pretty set. You have some fun facts for us, right?
Yeah, I mean, I always have fun facts. I'm taking your role this season. So
this episode,
season
let's
trade for life.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that later.
Okay. Apparently, when she was trying out for the role in Iron Man 2, she dyed her hair red to convince the director that she was right for it, and she basically like did some strength training for the role too, which I think
that's legit.
It's impressive. It's a commitment.
Yeah,
to go red from like, blonde.
To go red. I think she looks good with the red. Actually, I think I might prefer the red over the blonde. Depends on the shade of blonde, though.
The red, it can be a bit much for me sometimes. It's not like a good natural looking red, in my opinion.
I probably associate it with Black Widow, though, who does have that color hair in the comics. So it's like, ooh, Black Widow.
Oh, see, I always look at her and I'm like, I wish it was like a more strawberry blonde.
Oh, but that's not Black Widow.
Well, I don't know comics.
Well, Black Widow is like a Russian assassin. So it just seems fitting to have like this blood red.
So naturally she is red.
Blood red. Okay. That's when Americans write stuff about like Russians.
Yeah.
Blood red.
Yeah.
That's what the Russians are. People generally liked her, but criticized how little her role did in that movie, right? It's basically, she's just a pretty face in Iron Man 2.
I haven't seen any of them. Unsurprising.
Oh, okay. So we're going to watch Lost in Translation and then all 9 Marvel movies
That seems like a fair trade-off.
And then, of course, she goes on to star in many other Broadway shows and movies. We can't name them all, but some highlights. Lucy, Her, and unfortunately, Ghost in the Shell, which I'd love to talk about.
Unfortunately?
Because this is, remember I told you I had a crushy crush on her?
Yeah.
And then it kind of dissipated. This is why. So Ghost in the Shell, which I actually never watched, but it's basically based on this popular Japanese manga series about a kick-ass cyborg who fights crime. Received positive like cinematic views, like apparently like it looked cool. Mm-hmm. But the problem is she in the movie was criticized for whitewashing, right? Because it's Japanese. Mm-hmm. The cartoons were a Japanese woman. Mm-hmm. And in response to the backlash, she basically says that she never played a non-white character because it was a cyborg. It's a robot, right? So, but wanted to take the rare opportunity to star in a female-led franchise. So in my head, I'm like, oh, so it's not whitewashing because the character was a robot and could have taken the form of any skin.
What a dumb argument.
Right. It's like Japanese manga. Like that's
just lazy.
I thought it was a cop-out.
I mean, what else would she have said though, realistically? Like I think that in those instances it's actually better to either say nothing or to be like, you know what, you're right, looking back on it, I should have advocated for somebody who you know, was more appropriate for the role, just given like how the comic was created.
And I think that's what people felt. It's like, don't double down. We'll give you an opportunity to learn and live on. But I think the lesson sunk in because she did turn down an opportunity to star in Rub and Tug, which was going to be a biopic about Dante Texgill, a trans man who worked with the mob and operated a massage parlor.
Interesting.
So she had accepted it. There's a big backlash. Like, why is this cis woman playing this trans man? Real life, right? And everything that he went through during his lifetime. And then she said, no, it's not appropriate for me to play it. So,
all right, baby steps. I'll take it.
Yeah. So, you know, a little bit better in my book now.
Yeah, for sure. And so as recently as 2019, she actually got Academy Award noms finally for Marriage Story and Jojo Rabbit, both of which were actually pretty good.
I only saw Marriage Story. Okay. I didn't see Jojo Rabbit. Marriage Story I thought was good.
It was definitely slow, but it was like an indie movie, but it was a nice departure from like her typical roles, I thought.
Black Widow, yeah, certainly.
Yeah, I guess so.
More emotional depth
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So outside of movies and Broadway, ScarJo has also hosted Saturday Night Live 5 times. She tried to sing, like every actress does, for some time back in the mid-aughts, and was even in the Justin Timberlake video for What Goes Around Comes Around. And so she releases kind of a few albums in line with this potential singing career, but seemingly nothing popped, even though she had worked with some pretty big names in the industry.
I guess, I mean, if she won a Tony... So I actually never heard her sing. Presumably she can sing.
Ah, fair. Good point.
So people, I mean,
but just because
you're
you can sing doesn't mean you need to.
It's how rare is it that people can do the crossovers and do it in a non-cheesy way?
Yeah.
Right? That's hard to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Erica Jane has failed, but ScarJo.
I think Janet's the only one, but that's because she also started off as a child actress and was just
you're already
like an amazing
celebrity.
singer. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So ScarJo was at least the world's highest paid actress in 2018 and 2019. Around then, her films have grossed over $14.3 billion worldwide. And she is the 9th highest grossing box office star of all time, which is impressive and very unexpected.
That's legit. Very unexpected.
She's... Look, when you think about I don't know, when you just think about the other actresses that are out or just stars, period, I'm like, you're the 9th?
Scarlett Johannson doesn't do it for you, huh?
No, I think it's just the Marvel movies.
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat the Marvel movies.
Like nothing else that she did is like ringing any bells for box office, smashes.
It's funny though, because she's so well known, but then you're like, outside of Marvel, I was thinking like, what would I know her for? Really, like a couple things here and there, but yeah, Marvel really. This has definitely helped her. She's also considered a Hollywood sex symbol, and I feel like you can get away with more when you're deemed like she's always been like everyone's always thought she's voluptuous, she's sexy, blah blah blah, but apparently she doesn't really like this. She says people are getting too preoccupied with people's looks in general, and hey, that doesn't last. So I don't want to be just minimized to my sexuality. She also apparently lost out on a chance in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo because the director thought she was too sexy.
I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I too am turned down for things because I'm too sexy.
Is that what it is?
I'm too sexy for my... What's that? The new Drake and Future song? Hate it.
Yeah, me too. Even though we just jammed out right now. Anyway, I'm really sorry that you're being turned down from what roles. I'd love to know because you're too sexy. But yeah, I mean, I feel you. Victoria's Secret said no to me just recently.
Okay.
Because they were like, nah, you're going to make the other girls feel bad. At my 5'4" kind of...
You're a nugget.
Great body, yeah. Okay. Previously, we got to get into the personal, right? My boy, Ryan Reynolds, was married to her for a couple years. Didn't work out.
Nope.
In case anyone didn't know that. He's now with Blake Lively.
Love them together.
They're a very cute couple. Love that they troll each other. And then she married a business guy, Romain Duriac. I'm probably butchering that name. Sorry, I'm so American. Who she has one kid with. While she was married to Ryan... Nude photos from her cell phone leaked online, and the FBI did an investigation that led to the hacker being sentenced to 10 years in prison.
Remember, like, all of those celebrities' phones were getting hacked around that time? I felt like it was just, like, nudes coming out every week.
Yeah, and that I mean...
Just sad, obviously.
Not cool, people.
No, not
but
cool
10 years in prison, I mean... Take that.
He's got some time to think about it.
Yeah, he does. She's now married to comedian Colin Jost, who works on SNL.
Is that how you say his last name?
Yeah.
Oh, I always thought it was Jost. I've literally never heard it said. That was just how I read it in my head, and I ran with it.
It's my, SNL knowledge. That's the only reason why I know.
Fair.
The two just had a kid, Cosmo.
Cute.
So, you like that name?
No.
Oh, okay. You were I thought that was oddly.
The kid part was cute. Not the name.
Yeah. Cosmo just makes me think of Cosmo Kramer from Seinfeld, which you don't.
No.
Yep, that's fine. It's super fun fact. She hates being called ScarJo. She thinks it's lazy and flippant. So, out of respect, we're now going to refer to her as ScarJojo. Go for it.
You're an idiot. Okay. ScarJojo. I will use that for as long as I can remember.
I will remind you.
All right. So, ScarJojo. She's got a lot going on today. Well,
so
less going on today, actually, but, a couple months ago.
Give us a little preview.
So basically this goes back to Black Widow, right? She's been in 9 Marvel movies. It kind of culminates in her getting her own solo prequel film that she is an executive producer on and ends up debuting in July of this year, 2021. And it's worth noting that the release date actually got pushed back several times because of COVID because, obviously in different cities, theaters were still shut down. And at a certain point, I think studios were just worried like if people would even come with theaters back open.
Right. I think it was pushed like over a year.
Yeah.
In total.
Yeah. And so Disney ends up releasing the movie in theaters and on their new streaming service, Disney Plus. And again, they say this is because of COVID and they want to give, their consumers, viewers options. And so Disney Plus is a streaming platform that currently costs $7.99 a month or about $79.99 per year. And you can access most of their library for that price, but to watch new releases like Black Widow would have been in July, within the first few months you have to pay a rental price.
Okay.
And so in this case, they were charging $30 to watch Black Widow before October 6th, after which you could view it under like your normal subscription if you were subscribed.
I know this because I've been waiting till October 6th.
You cheapo.
I don't know why the $30 just was like
Too much for you.
Yeah. I'll pay like triple that for a haircut, but I was like,
we're aware.
$30 to watch this? Ridiculous. Because the rental's only like 24 hours too. I don't know why. It's not like I would watch it over and over. But it's the principle. $30.
All right, I guess. I just feel like if you went to the movies, you'd pay about that much.
I know. Probably per ticket. That's
Yeah.
why there's something about it. I'm oddly cheap about certain things. And this is one
Good
where
to know.
So I haven't watched it.
Is it October 6th yet? Now you can watch it.
Now I'm in the clear.
Okay.
Right after this, I'm
Go ahead.
watching Black Widow.
Well, so the film does amazing. Opening weekend brought in $226.2 million globally, which included about $80 million in the US, about $78 million internationally, and $67 million in Disney Plus Premier Access globally.
So that's that $30 a month.
So she fucking crushed it,
Right.
basically, is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing a lot of money. I'm hearing I'm poor.
Yeah, I haven't made that much in my entire
Ever?
lifetime. If I lived this lifetime 1,000 times over, I would not have hit that. And it was one of the first big ones to hit theaters in the midst of the pandemic. Like, I remember a lot of build up toward this because people were like, oh, Disney's going to do this?
Right.
All right. Like, it's a Marvel movie,
Yeah.
so let's go. So July 2021, the month in which it gets released simultaneously in theaters and on their Disney Plus platform, she files a lawsuit against the Walt Disney Company. So doesn't seem really like their relationship was going well around this time, if I might say. She says the simultaneous release of the film in theaters and on Disney Plus was a breach of her contract. Breach of contract basically means breaking the terms of the agreement, right?
Super simple.
You said you'd do something, you didn't do it, or vice versa.
Yep.
And it's worth noting that actually her contract was with Marvel, right? It's like MCU. Marvel, but she sued its parent company, Walt Disney Company, under contract interference principles. Basically, Disney interfered with her Marvel contract by releasing the movie on their platform at the same time as the theatrical release. So I thought this was interesting, right? Because why would you sue Disney instead of Marvel? Well, Disney thinks it's because of an alleged arbitration provision that's contained in her contract with Marvel. Arbitration, we've talked about this a couple times in season 1, but it's basically a private process to resolve disputes outside of the courts. And it's often legally binding, but it doesn't have to be. And usually these arbitrators are retired or former judges. So the idea here is that ScarJoJo knew she couldn't take Marvel to court, but could try to take Disney to court, right, in the public forum, so that she can get the public rallying around her.
Which worked, and we'll come back to that.
Right. And I think that this might be true. Like, if I'm her lawyer, this is a good strategy because you want to use the public as much as you can. But it might also have to do with, this is just me speculating, Disney owning the Disney Plus platform, and she wants to go after them too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so per Scarlett, her agreement guaranteed an exclusive theatrical release, which means that it's only in theaters for a certain amount of time. And so basically for that guaranteed time, she's basically saying that Disney was in breach of the contract because they released it on Disney Plus at the same time. So it was a simultaneous release. I think it's worth noting from an industry perspective, it's really common actually that contracts will include a theatrical release window of like 45 to 90 days. And I think that's, just because people, do kind of like the hype and they will rush out to theaters. And so a lot of money comes in from that. But that, you also have to go to theaters if you want to be nominated down the line for, all of the awards. Because you have to be in theaters per those basically award, conditions.
Got it.
And so it's really unclear what her agreement included. So we're not sure how many days it was supposed to be exclusive. But long story short, she is saying my agreement said that I would have an exclusive theatrical window. Why are you guys now simultaneously streaming?
Got it. And I assume that people or box offices in particular care about this, right? Because they want to try to make the most money possible.
For sure. Yeah.
So exactly, like we'll get into it, but that's where my mind goes.
But ultimately, they don't have a claim, right? Because they're not in any contract with the studios or the streamers. So like, they've got a right to their grievances, and obviously they're upset, but really only somebody like Scarlett or if like a director or producer had that same provision would be in a position to sue the studio or the streamer who is doing the simultaneous release.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for your movies knowledge, Nicole.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you.
And so I think it's worth asking, why does Scarlett care that there was even an exclusive theatrical window?
Yep.
Money, really, is what it always comes down to, right?
That's all I care about.
But so to get more in depth, so Scarlett is supposed to get a % of the box office profits, you know, based on how much money it grosses worldwide, in the US, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And so if Disney offers the movie on their platform, then there's less likely going to be, you know, those box office profits, because some of the people who would have gone to the theater might just stay home and watch the movie on Disney Plus instead.
This is like really interesting. I think we've talked about this also in a couple episodes where we talk about back end or contingent comp. And it's a way that a lot of movie stars and even TV stars back in the day when we had just linear TV, which is just referring to like cable, right? When you'd watch, I don't know, Married with Children or Seinfeld or these popular sitcoms that had reruns. Everybody Loves Raymond. People were making money off of reruns in the TV world, in the movies world. Like you said, they're making a percentage of the box office tickets. So when you're hearing these huge numbers of, you know, they gross $260 million in the first weekend, the stars are going, great, I get 5% of that or 3%, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
And now it's looking a little different for these people because of the changed landscape.
And I think it's worth noting though, right? So there's the back end that comes in the form of box office bonuses, but there is also a back end profit that comes in the form of a percent of any profits that the studio or the streamer makes. So like she still would have gotten money.
Right. Like merch is a good example.
Yes, like merch or music or even like, you know, theme parks in some situations. So it's worth noting that she would have still gotten money / more money, I think is really the key here, as a result of the rentals on Disney Plus. But she's saying that because you guys put it there simultaneously, I'm probably getting less money because the box office bonuses would have been larger.
Exactly. So it's a big pot with different revenue streams, and Disney does it really well, I have to say. I mean, who can merch like Disney with, and especially Marvel, right? Like they have their theme parks, like you said. Yep. I was just at Disneyland, you know,
do they have a Black Widow or like a Marvel ride thingy? Oh, do they?
Well, here in Anaheim, they just created an Avengers campus.
Okay.
And so they have like a person walking around as Black Widow who engages in like fights, you know, like fake fights and fights bad guys. So she's definitely making some
money from that.
Yeah, it's her likeness, right? And the person always, they look like her. They have the red wig, like, the whole thing. So yeah, you're right. She is probably getting this other stuff, but she's also like, hey, I still care about this stream of income
because they're probably bigger.
Yeah, these are huge numbers.
Yeah.
And her lawyer also goes on to claim that Disney could have continued to wait to release this movie, but that they basically just wanted to increase their Disney Plus subscribers and boost profits and therefore stock prices, right? Because now a lot of these, Disney didn't have an online streaming platform until fairly recently.
Years,
yeah, Netflix has been going strong for a while.
Right.
And now Disney's like, well, we're going to make money like this too. And they also claimed that Disney's just using COVID as an excuse to put it up on their platform, right? Oh, it's because of COVID. And they're basically saying, okay, sure. But it's also because you can make a lot more money by getting that, you know, $7.99 a month or $79.99 a year from people who are going to continue to pay that over time.
Okay, after they've signed up. Yep. Yeah. And so in her lawsuit, she actually says that she tried to renegotiate certain terms in her agreement after she learned of this like simultaneous release plan and that Disney never responded.
That's interesting to me because I was thinking about this and I was like, it'd be surprising to me if her contract didn't mention her getting a cut of these rental profits, right? So I'm thinking either she didn't get any cut or maybe they said that she would get a cut, but now she wants to get more. And not to blow the surprise that we're going to talk about later, but I feel like Disney, I think they started claiming she wasn't entitled to a percentage of those rent profits, but that they were just good guys and gave her some.
And this is one of those moments where I'm like, get a better lawyer, because any good lawyer who's in entertainment knows that like you put everything that you can into like that back end pot that you're getting that's not box office bonuses. So like if that was something that was overlooked, especially given how big Disney Plus has gotten, like, you should fire whoever your attorney is ASAP.
I mean, I don't disagree.
Come over here.
Some sources say that she lost as much as $50 million due to this new strategy of Disney's, because despite the first weekend's numbers, the numbers actually start to tank right after that weekend. Allegedly, it was one of the lowest box office grosses for a movie in the MCU universe, like overall.
Crazy.
I know. It's crazy.
It's wild.
So people speculated that this was because Disney put it on their streaming services, like we've been saying, which would allow audiences to skip the theaters and watch it at home. And apparently there were some increased piracy claims too, right? That people were just better able to pirate it and give it away.
I definitely get the piracy part, because obviously, like, you can probably create a better pirated version of a movie and release it elsewhere from, you know, like something streaming on your home TV instead of something that's in a movie theater. But I definitely think that it's really hard to prove that people skipped out on theaters just because of this. Like, we are still very much so in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, I have yet to go to a movie theater. And so, like, I mean, I'm not a Black Widow person, but like, if I were, back in July, I might have said, like, I'm just going to stay at home and watch this.
Same. I think same. I'm sure it impacted things though, but to your point, it's not like we can prove it definitively. So it's kind of messy. So how do you prove that? I get it.
And I think it's worth noting, though, that because of the pandemic, right, a lot of studios and streamers have either held off on releases like they did in the beginning by kind of, you know, continuing to punt it every couple months, or just skipping releasing in theaters altogether, since, again, people couldn't go to theaters for a while. And it's also, like, worth noting that a lot of people across the industry were unhappy with these decisions and said that it affected their revenues, because, you know, a lot of people, like the actors, like ScarJo, but also producers and directors, get money based on the box office performance, which of course goes away if it's completely streamed.
No, I don't disagree with that. And I'm interested to see how the entertainment world progresses with this new streaming world, because it's hit TV. It's been in TV longer than I think movies, and with theatrical releases being affected by streamers. And so what I'm guessing might happen is that actors are going to, producers, directors, whoever would have usually been thinking they're going to get a bunch of money on the back end from box office sales, might want to start negotiating upfront bonuses or fixed fee, essentially, to say, hey, I understand that you're going to do simultaneous releases. I'm going to lose out on a certain amount of money, so give me a fixed sum instead. I don't know how they're going to calculate it. I don't even know if this would happen. But if I'm ScarJoJo or anybody on the talent side of things, I know that I would want that. I'd ask for that.
Well, so interestingly, actually, HBO Max released all of their titles simultaneously on their streaming service and in theaters. But because they would change this release plan, essentially, they went back and renegotiated a bunch of their talent contracts so that they would legally be able to do so, while also, you know, minimizing the blowback from, like, upset talent. And so allegedly they paid around like $200 to $250 million to renegotiate all these agreements, which is not insignificant.
Not at all, but it keeps people happy. And I feel like that's what Netflix does so well for the most part, like with their big stars. Like Will Smith got tens of millions for one of the movies he did for them. I think it was like 27 million. I forget who, but there's another actor that got 37 million up front. Yeah. And that means, look, Netflix is taking a gamble. They don't know if they're probably going to be fine in the end, but they're saying you're worth it. We don't want to have a lawsuit like ScarJoJo. Right. We don't want this coming after us. So we're just going to pay you a big sum. And then we're clean our hands of it, right? Which is essentially what I think HBO Max did here. Yeah. You probably didn't have to, but let's just do it.
Yeah. I mean, on the other hand, though, I think theater owners have definitely lost out way more, and nobody's renegotiating anything with them. And so recently, an organization for theater owners basically came out and criticized the strategy of the simultaneous release and or the only, obviously, streaming release. And they've, you know, been very open about the lost profits that they've had, and the, you know, concerns over piracy, because it's just more difficult to pirate, you know, things when they're only in theaters.
It's interesting. I mean, there was a time during the pandemic I thought AMC was going to go bankrupt. I was thinking, oh shoot, they're done. Yeah. Right? Like, it's just a new world. We're just going to have to see how it goes. Yeah. Well, okay. Disney responds to all of this, right? They're not very happy, to say the least. They basically say her lawsuit shows callous disregard for the pandemic and that they fully complied with her agreement. I feel like the PR move here was probably not the smartest. I don't think they consulted Kris Jenner on this one, is what I'm saying.
My thing is, like, if you breach my agreement, I don't give a fuck about the pandemic. Like, this has nothing to do with the pandemic. Don't try to make me out to be some asshole who doesn't care about what people are going through. Like, we agreed to something, and you have to do it if that's, you know, if that was written and signed.
Right. What you're saying is like, you do care about the pandemic, but don't use that against me.
Right.
Like, if you're going to pay me my money, you should pay me my money.
Yeah.
First of all.
Unless we've agreed otherwise.
Blank period.
Yeah.
Yes. So they argue that her contract doesn't require any theatrical distribution, which is even more than her. 'Cause she's saying exclusive. They're saying, hey, we don't even have to release it in theaters, let alone give you an exclusive window. And then apparently they say that the only thing that they do say that any theatrical distribution obligations would be satisfied by distributing her movie on no less than 1,500 screens. And then they go, well, we distribute it on 30,000 screens.
Who was the attorney here who said we don't have to do any theatrical distribution or no obligations, but also we satisfied them because we did 30,000 screens? Like,
It's
what?
such a lawyer move. It's such a, I want to see the contract because I'm like, what are you looking at in the contract that made it seem like this? Because I agree with you, but I looked
But also,
at,
like, why, you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth. Like, you didn't. You should definitely think about the statements that you're making.
this
before.
is why people hate lawyers.
Idiots.
But I looked at the complaint and it literally says that.
Idiots.
So then I was like, yeah, I need to see the contract. What is
So no obligations when you
is this?
satisfied them. You're welcome. Scar JoJo.
Yeah, exactly. There are no obligations, but if there were, we're good.
Dumb.
They also claim the arbitration provision in her contract with Marvel still applies to Disney, right? Because again, she's suing Disney, not Marvel, who she has a contract with, because of the subject matter involved. Hey, this has to do with the movie and the contract, so that arbitration provision should apply. And again, they care about this because they don't want this public. They want to just arbitrate in private without people knowing. They also say that she already made $20 million for the film and that she'll earn even more from the movie being on Disney Plus. Allegedly, they counted the rentals, that $30, a pop, as box office numbers. So presumably that would have gone into her back end.
Right. Which we talked
numbers.
about and we speculated. And I think they even, they say at least that they discussed their new strategy with her. And like they talked about how the receipts would be handled. But also like discussing it is not the same thing as amending my agreement and getting new paperwork that I have signed off on. Like you can discuss anything you want with me.
Right.
But until I've signed off on it, fuck you.
I completely agree. I also think it's really messed up for them to be like, look, we paid you $20 million. Because for most people, $20 million is a huge sum of money. But relative to what she could have gotten, presumably, from the box office sales, it's still low. Like, I think, Mr. Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., he made like tens of millions.
Like hundreds or something?
Like
crazy.
triple, quadruple what she made. So I can't help but think like, oh, fuck. She's a woman and she finally gets her standalone Marvel movie, which doesn't really happen for a lot of like superhero type movies. And now you're going to like skewer her to be like, oh, you're making 20 million. Cause a lot of people are going to say, she's being such a baby. Just be happy.
It's definitely a little victim shaming to be like, well, look what we already did for you. Like, okay, great. So you can do everything else that you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
So I'm purely guessing, but I think it could also be true that she's making maybe even more money this way with the simultaneous release and with the theaters and the streaming because since the movie was renting for $30 on Disney Plus, right? If individuals themselves are renting it, then she's actually getting more money than she would for the theater. I understand that there's obviously like a lot of logistics that play into that because if it's families of 4, she's making less. If it's 2, she's making about the same. But like, she actually could be making more money this way. But I guess if it's not like a similar percentage of what she's getting at box office profits, then I still get it.
No, to your point, like we would have to see the data,
it's
right?
So
and Disney's not going to give it to us.
No.
But to your point, yeah, because $30, you're like, okay, family and friends, you could have a viewing party, and then you could get 30 people. I mean, endless amount of people to watch for $30 versus per ticket. The other thing that I was thinking was, okay, $30 a rental, but it's only for a few months. With her, she had like a longer run time, right? July to October. So it's a longer period of time potentially for people to pay that $30.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking, I bet the people paying $30 decreases as time goes on because they're thinking, I'm closer to October 6th. It's not worth renting now.
Fair.
So also it's like, I need to see that.
Yeah.
But to your point, maybe she could be making a little bit more because now they don't have to give a cut to the theaters, right? And maybe she's capturing people or maybe Disney's capturing people who would have never gone to the theater to begin with, like you said.
Who see it on their Disney Plus platform and are like, oh, I'm going to give this a shot, but I never would have gone to a theater.
Exactly.
Or even like the COVID, the people who are like worried about COVID in theaters. Long story short, this all results in this back and forth smear campaign. And so CAA, who reps her and is a pretty big entertainment agency, says that Disney is being shameless and making her out to be someone that they know she isn't. And they even said that including her salary, like in all of their statements, was weaponizing her success, kind of like we said.
Agreed.
And so, naturally, a lot of people are tuned into this. Like, I remember seeing the headline and being like, oh, fuck.
I was shocked.
What does this mean for the industry? Because, I'm on the film side. So I'm like, this is wild. A whole new territory.
Right.
But so, it was going to basically set, or people were worried that it would set a precedent from an industry standpoint and would leave studios and even streamers having to be more cautious of when they're setting their movie releases up and like what their release strategy is going to be. And so even like immediately after, it was kind of alleged that Emma Stone was weighing her options to possibly bring a lawsuit similar for Cruella, since that was also simultaneously released on Disney+. Right. And, other stars start to speak out on her behalf, including Jamie Lee Curtis and Elizabeth Olsen and Jason Blum, who's a producer. And so I think people really all around the industry kind of like perked up to see what was going to happen with this one.
Fun fact alert.
Go for it. What you got?
If I might add my second one of the season, apparently, since I won't get to do
Last
this
one.
anymore. Actually came out that her Marvel contract was expiring soon. So she may have found this an opportunity to pick an issue and negotiate a better contract. What do you think? Just generally with Disney, right? Because she has other things going, which we're going to talk about.
People do that. It wouldn't be the first time people have used like a, coming up agreement that's expiring to be like, no, I want more money.
Shocking. I've never had anyone ask me for more money.
Sorry, my friend.
They're like, actually, I think you're overpaying me. Why don't you just keep this money? Thank you.
Well, so where do things stand now?
September 30th. Both parties announced they reached a settlement, aka they resolved their legal issues and won't need to go to trial.
Love that for them.
Unfortunately, when people settle, nosy asses like us don't get to know the terms of the settlement. It's private
for us.
So we don't get to know what she got paid because presumably she did. In fact, rumors are circulating that she got an additional $20 million to, not sue them anymore. And we've talked about this before. Settlement doesn't mean that the person being sued, in this case Disney, was guilty. It can mean a number of things. They could be, and they could just say, we want to wipe our hands of this, cut our losses. Or they just go, you know what, litigation, trial, not worth it. It's expensive. It takes time. We're just going to make things better.
Yep.
And I assume the relationships take hold here, right? Because she confirmed she still plans to work with Disney after, because she's working on Tower of Terror right now.
I too would say for an extra $20 million. So
yeah, I'd be like, I love you. I love the PR statements that come out after that. We just appreciate each other, and it's just all love, XOXO. Yeah. And then you go to like a day prior where they're like, this bitch don't care about COVID. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Whoa,
you got real interesting there, real fast.
Thank you. As of late.
Yeah.
The film has earned $379 million in box office.
So still cranking up the fucking numbers, which is wild.
So by the way, when people are like, this is the lowest performing, and I'm like, god damn.
Right.
Money-making machine here. People think Disney actually rushed to settle because of the impact the suit would have had with other stars like you were talking about, right? They just, Emma Stone on Cruella, because she has a sequel movie coming out, and so they probably just want to nip it in the bud.
Yeah.
And I won't be surprised if they're talking to her behind the scenes now.
Yep. So long story short, a little summary. So ScarJo sues Disney because Disney released the Black Widow movie both in theaters and on Disney Plus at the same time. She said that her agreement allowed for, or was requiring actually an exclusive theatrical release, and basically because of the simultaneous release, she's saying that she lost money. Disney did not agree that her agreement said that, but they paid her another $20 million to make it shut the fuck up.
Probably. Yep. I think that was well said. Thank you, my friend. Very eloquent. Do you have any unsolicited advice for our listeners?
I would tell the lawyer who was like, there was no obligation, but we also satisfied the obligations, to quit life.
Okay.
That's my advice.
That's good advice. Very particular, individualized advice
for one person.
Hopefully he's listening. My advice is going to be, if you're negotiating a contract for your services or goods of any kind, and make sure that you have some sort of clause that says you get a cut of any sort of profits to come, because a lot of times there's going to be things that are going to happen in life you're not even going to think of at the time of drafting. So you gotta make sure you get a cut of everything.
Get you a good lawyer who can negotiate that.
Yeah. I mean, not us. You can consult with us. We'll do it. We'll give you some high level ideas.
For $10 million.
Actually, I'll do it for $20 million. Yeah, why not? Okay. Well, this brings us to our new Q&A
Pew, 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 pew.
segment. This is very exciting. Thank you for that. You know how much I love my little reggaeton.
You love the club sounds.
Okay, so first question of the new segment, we were asked, will Brittany's dad ever be charged or get away with everything? It's a big question. You want to take the lead?
That's tough. Okay, so I actually think that he's going to be charged. I don't know what those, I guess, the charges could vary, right? And he could also just settle privately because obviously this is going to turn into a mess, both publicly and privately for him. But I definitely think that some not great things are going to come out about him being a conservator. And I say that because, so let's just backtracking a little bit, right, to September. Obviously a million things have happened over the course of this past year and also the past couple months. But so basically in September, right, like Jamie had filed to terminate the entire conservatorship, not just his involvement, which I think people were like a little bit fuzzy on. But so he's saying end the conservatorship over Brittany. My thought is that he's doing this to avoid an investigation from happening.
Oh, shit.
Because, right, like as we all know, I guess that was what, like 2 weeks ago now, the judge ends up removing Jamie as the conservator over Brittany's finances and put somebody else in. And so now that there's a new person in, this person can legally go back through all of the documents from Jamie's time as conservator and go through all of the emails and literally, you know, what is it called? Like dig up the graves? Is that uncover the graves?
Sure. Yeah.
He'll figure out where the bodies are buried.
They're going to uncover all the bodies after he digs them up and uncovers them.
I'm really struggling with words today. Long story short, I think this guy is going to come in and he's going to figure out where all the bodies are buried. And like, there's going to be a lot of questionable things that come out about what Jamie's been doing. So I say that to say that, yes, I do think he's going to find some charges against him.
Things are looking a little unsavory.
What do you
think?
Is
what you're saying.
Is he going to get away with it?
I agree with you. I know we're supposed to be a people that believe that people are innocent until proven guilty, which I don't completely disagree with, but I think when you're acting real guilty, you probably are guilty of something. To your point, I don't know how bad it'll be, but I do think the fact that he was so quick to ask for a termination after all these years when he's been
like she needs
touting, touting so much, she needs it, she can trust me, I'm her father, and then she hires this big shot lawyer, Rosengart, who is just known for being a pit bull. Then all of a sudden, I terminate, right? The second her court appointed attorney goes away, this big shot lawyer comes in, he goes to termination. And a lot of people, if you didn't know, it looks optically good. Oh, wow, he finally realized the error of his ways. He's terminating, right? The PR statements, I trust my daughter, I love my daughter, she should have her autonomy, her independence. And then, oh, lo and behold, like you said, oh, he wants to do that because the second he terminates, all the stuff that he's been talking to the lawyers as conservator, right, which they have attorney-client privilege, we talk about this a lot, between him and the lawyers would go away because attorney-client privilege means nobody can find out about it except for you and your attorney. So the reason why Brittany's lawyer wants to keep it around is, like you said, to put this replacement in there, and then he gets to access all that stuff. So we are going to know a lot, I think, in November.
Yeah, I think the next hearing is around then because by then the new person will have been in for 2 full months. So they'll have been able to access like all of her financial records, see what payments he's been making, what bills have been clearing through her accounts, like a million things, really.
Shady stuff, too. There was allegations that he had cameras in her room. The IUD IUD allegations. So if he's able to uncover that somehow, then it could be, I mean, criminal charges, right? Like,
for sure.
Very badly. That is not okay. So he might be looking at prison time if those things are true. We'll have to see. We're definitely going to track this closely and give our listeners updates.
And we are not prison proponents, I should say, but like, if the things that have been said are true, they're so egregious that I don't really know that it would be fair from a justice perspective from him to just settle out and pay money to make that go away.
Yeah, this is where we just need I don't know. I don't know what the solution here would be. That is pretty bad. I can't imagine forcing anybody to control their body that way,
Yeah.
taking money from her allegedly, right?
We
There's
should
some
recreate
bad
the
stuff.
shame scene from Game of Thrones and make him walk through the streets while people say shame. Shame.
That's a good one. Just public
I
humiliation.
love public humiliation.
I think a lot of people would steer clear of things, actually. People really don't like to be humiliated for some reason publicly.
Yeah.
Just air it on every single device ever. Yeah, I agree. All right. So another question we got.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how juicy are we getting into the legal tea for season 2? Tell us.
It's going to be super juicy. The tea is going to be piping hot.
I burned my tongue.
Piping hot. So, okay, let me think. What were some, so obviously we've talked now about ScarJo.
Yep. This was a
We
good
are
one.
going to talk about Katy Perry and her legal issues with some nuns over who owns a convent, which feels good.
That alone just makes me laugh every time. Katy
We're
Perry
gonna-
versus some nuns.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Rihanna
We got some Riri.
using an Islamic prayer in her show.
We got Queen Latifah versus Caesar Milan.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's going to be a battle of the titans.
We've got more housewives drama because it's literally the pond that never stops flowing.
Yeah. Oh my God. There's like, I didn't know ponds could flow, but that's great to know.
River?
Um,
I quit.
was
Honestly, guys.
we also have the Kardashians.
I'm really struggling.
Trying to save you.
Sorry.
Let's keep
Sorry,
this. This is
Judgies.
great. Kardashians, because I feel like every season we'll have at least a
We do
housewife
have some Kardashian drama.
and a Kardashian.
Forgot about that.
Right?
Forgot all about that.
Kendall. We've neglected her last season. So
Who's not a Kardashian, but
Yeah,
it's
but
so
she's-
interesting how those two ladies have really just taken over that name.
I think they've hung out too much together that they've now
They might as well just give up the general last
they
name at this
blended
point.
it. I mean, yeah. Oh, I'm excited about Matt Damon and Amanda Knox.
Oh yeah,
We got a little murder.
yeah.
I think we should aim to do like one murder episode a season.
I don't feel comfortable just saying
to
that
keep
out
it-
loud. I'm not like a big murder fan.
Well,
Unless I'm trying to take a nappy nap and then I a little snapped.
okay. You look.
My background.
There was too much of a twinkle in your eye when you said that to me, so we're just gonna cut early.
So anyways, yes, season
juicy.
2 is full of juicy gossip, full of hot tea, full of legal drama. It'll definitely be a good season.
Tune in, okay?
All right, so now we are getting into some exclusive Patreon content. So if you want to hear what we're going to talk about next, please head over to our Patreon link, sign up, join the fun.
Exciting new segments.
We've got some good shit over there, and you get more of us.
More.
Never enough.
Who doesn't want more? That's all I want to know. More money, more friendships,
More gold.
more us. As always, have to say thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Legally Judgy. We hope you enjoyed listening to us talk as much as we love the sound of our own voices.
If you did, please subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Also, join us on our Patreon for more judgy shits and giggles. Until next time.
Bye.